morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching all around the world. This is the Youth Agenda TV show known as the Speak Out, and we are privileged today to be hosting Edward Kipkalia from Emerging Leaders Foundation. We'll be discussing how people can brand themselves for employability during this COVID-19 period. So, Edward, please just introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and a little bit something about yourself, something interesting.
Thank you very much, Richard, for having me. As you've said, my name is Edward Kipkalia. I work with the Emerging Leaders Foundation as the program officer in charge of governance and civic engagement. I also am very passionate about young people, and I'm passionate about three things. One of them is governance, technology, and leadership. And I try to find the nexus between all those three things in one, and try to amplify the voices of young people, those young people who can't have their voice known out or also seeked out. So I try to just amplify them. Additionally, I also believe in mentorship. I'm a product of mentorship, and also just giving back to young people in the different sectors of this society. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You've mentioned governance, technology, and leadership.
Yes.
And it's the main focus today is actually the technological aspect of what you just said. Because as everyone is aware now, we've been going through the flow structured, and a lot of things have had to be switched up, especially with regards to digital platforms. And so when we talk about the technological aspect of it, today we want to talk about how you brand yourself for employability, especially using digital platforms.
Yeah.
How do you think young people need to understand what personal branding is with regards to digital platforms? Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. First and foremost, when you look at the digital space,
Yes.
you have an interactive session where you have the user and also the person who is on the back end, and you're trying to communicate something towards other people. So you have a platform that is an interface. So personal branding in that extent of branding is the picture that someone will get when they see your profile on social media, or whenever they go through some of the things that you're communicating in social media. Can they form a picture of that person who you are claiming to be? Or is that picture different from who you are, or who you are?
Yes.
And also that picture, is it also opposite of also the person you are claiming to be? So personal branding should be in such a way that the picture that you are proclaiming to be as an individual is also the same picture that when I go to social media, I can be able to say, this is Richard in person and also in social media. But you find discrepancies between young people whenever what they claim to be when they're looking, for example, for jobs.
Yes.
And also what they post on social media. Yes. So in that perspective, we get to see what digital branding is and also personal branding. Yes.
So you've mentioned something interesting. There should be a correlation between who you are as an individual and who you portray to be on social media. And how important do you think it is? Because this is something that people talk about, but I don't know whether they've been able to verify it. Do you think organizations actually counter-check with your social media pages and handles to see the type of person you are on social media and who you actually are, or presenting yourself to be physically when, say, you go for an interview? Do you think it is actually important for young people to be mindful of what they do and how they portray their brands in both aspects?
Yes, it's actually very mindful. Because in the past, we never used to have the internet. But towards the 2000s, we started having internet, and more and more people were able to use internet to be able to just express themselves. So whenever you go to social media and use these sites, you get to see the personality of that person in a different angle. And different companies are able to ask you whenever you're doing the interview process to give your social media handles, because they know you have them, and they know that's where they are going to go through and just check what is the other personality that you have in social media, and is it what you are claiming to be in your CV. So if you look at companies like, there's one interview I've done with Google,
Yes.
and they asked me to give my profiles for social media, which I gave them, and they went through and they gave me a feedback from that combing through of my social media platform. And they told me that, for example, we've seen that you speak a lot about these aspects, you talk about these aspects. We've seen also you're very critical on these aspects of society and all that. Is that true, and is that a reflection of who you are? So you find if there is a discrepancy between what I post and what I actually claim to say, then you find that will likely to lead me into also missing that job. We've also seen opportunities where also people have also missed on job opportunity because they posted something about a certain brand or a certain organization in a negative angle. And when they checked on it, they were able to find out that this person said something bad about a job opportunity or about our company, and he or she is applying to this company. So you find that is what we call digital footprint, and it's very imperative for every young person to understand that whatever they post online will always remain. You can delete it for today, but when we check on the servers tomorrow, we'll still be able to find what. Yes, that's why we encourage young people to think, to stop, and act in a manner that reflects before posting anything on social media.
Wow, that's very enlightening, because sometimes we feel like if I deleted it, no one is going to know what I have posted earlier. But if a company actually wants to get thorough background check, saying that they can actually get even the things that you deleted, and they can be able to make out who or the type of person you are. So now let's talk about as an individual. How has your journey been with regards to how you have personalized your brand, how you have done Edward Kipkai? How do you say, I have been able to do 1, 2, 3 things, and these are the opportunities that have gotten from having developed a personal brand and a strong online digital presence and digital footprint? Because as you've mentioned, you, at least the company that you had an interview with, they were able to notice some trends with regards to the topics that you talk about, the thematic areas that you're critical of. How has that process been for you? How did you start, and what do you think someone out there who's watching can do to at least develop a personal brand online, a digital footprint?
Okay, thank you for that question. It's very important. Personally, I look back at my days, especially when I was in campus. I can say I was fortunate enough to join social media when I was already knowing the repercussions of social media, and I was started having very keen interest on the digital platform and also branding. And I asked myself a question: what do I want to be known for? What do I want people to know when they ask who is Edward Kipkalia and they go on social media? What search will it bring? If you go on Google today and search who is Edward Kipkalia, what will it bring? So having that kind of thinking before starting off, and knowing that this is what I want to be defined as, and this is what I want people to know me as, was very important, because it now gave me a chance for me to work backward. Because I started now with the end in mind, and knowing that this is what I want to achieve, and this is what I want people to know my brand as. So I started now working backward and starting now to focus on the key perspectives about now is what I'm posting related to what I want people to know me as. So very simple, I decided to make my brand towards the things that I'm passionate about. And I started by saying that if you check on my social media, you'll see 3 very key thematic areas. That's leadership, governance, and technology. So I decided to brand myself in that perspective to be able to, because those are things that I'm passionate about. It's not something that that if you find myself outside social media, those are things that I would speak about in my daily life, and also it's conversation that I like. So even some of the people I follow online are for also those people who are also having the same interest.
Yeah.
And from all these, what I saw coming out is, for example, when you look at campus, when I was in campus, either second year or third year,
Yes.
I got an application to just join Google Student Ambassadorship program, and I applied for it. And they were able to check my social media presence, and they said, because we've seen that you are very passionate about what you do.
Yeah.
And I not told them about my passion, but they saw it from my profile and what I'm posting about, and I got a chance to also work with them for a bit of some time. Additionally, also moving forward, there was also an organization that was looking for young people who can be able to articulate matters of leadership and matters of governance. And when students were asked, they easily referred me, because they know that I keep talking about those matters, I keep speaking about those issues, and even if they go to my social media profile, they'll get to find someone who speaks about that, and that shows who I am as a person. So I also got that opportunity. Very recently, also as I was almost finishing campus,
Yes.
there was a program called the University Student Leaders Awards, and I applied for it, and they checked also on my profile, and they asked me whether I was able to just share with them my social media pages, and I did that, and I did also an application form, and they were able to compare, and that also gave me a comparative advantage towards also the people I was also competing with in that program, and eventually I ended up emerging a winner because of just having that intentional kind of setting a pathway that you want to achieve, and also the things that you are posting and being deliberate about them. So those are just but few of those examples that I've been able to get from personal branding and having my presence online.
So you have to be, what has come out clearly is that we need to be intentional about the image we portray on social media.
Yes.
But most importantly, you have to stand for something and have to be practical about the things you talk about on social media.
Yes.
So that if I look at your social media profiles, I can be able to tell these are the things this person likes, these are the things he's interested in, or she's interested in, or they are interested in. These are things that, that are important to them. And also discussing societal matters,
yes,
that are actually practical, should be something that is important on social media as well.
Yes.
But a twist comes in where, what do you think about people who have fake social media handles? Like they have a different name, like a pseudonym on social media where they talk all their open-minded stuff that they want to talk about, but they also have their personal social media handle where they have a good reputation. What do you think about that? Is it something that's a wise move? Is it a tricky move? Or where is the balance? Where do you strike a balance with that?
Okay, so people who have double social media pages, I tend to believe are activists. Or they want to speak strongly about something, but they don't want to be associated with what they are speaking for. And you find they have a good reason sometimes, because you find the extent to which we have internet freedom, it's limited to a way. True. And it can be tracked back to you.
Yes.
So sometimes they tend to use this platform to just amplify what they are planning to do. However, sometimes it's just good to take a stand.
Yes.
And also if you are very active as an activist, use that in your social media. Because at the end of the day, it just reflects who you are as a person and what you stand for. And if I come and meet you tomorrow, you'll be able to also tell me that you are the one who did that, and also it shows that consistency that you have as a person who is activism for a certain activity or a certain advocacy that you're trying to pass across.
Yeah.
So having that, I don't see it as a big problem. However, in terms of branding, it's a big problem because you are not branding yourself as the person you want yourself to be, because you just want to show you the people your good side.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually true.
And that is what is actually happening in all social media platforms, with Instagram leading the way, where people nowadays just show us the best side
of their lives.
And we think that this is how life is, it has to be lived, and how it is perceived.
Yeah.
And this has got a lot of people into depression.
That's true. That's true. That's a topic for another day. We'll need a whole other segment to debunk and talk about that.
Yes.
But switching back to the main agenda today.
Yes.
With regards to the skills, digital skills to position oneself for jobs, especially online. What do you think are some of the crucial digital skills young people or other people need right now to help them position themselves for jobs, especially in the digital space? What are the crucial fundamental digital skills we should have to position us for jobs now?
Okay. So digital skills, I say it is a necessity and not a want. But most of the time, as we grew up in the society, we were told that having, for example, technological skills is more of advantageous to only specific type of people. But nowadays, because we are living in a very decentralized society, digital skills are compulsory and very necessity oriented towards our growth in the society. And you find one of the skills is, for example, typing.
Yes.
The ability for you to go and use a laptop to just type something. That is a fundamental digital skill. There's also the skill of being able to use social media platform to just amplify and speak out what you are perceiving yourself to be, and also just passing your thoughts out. So that's also another digital skill. If you look at the ability for you to analyze data, to be able to distinguish between the false, fake news, and also distinguish between the right news, which are the source that you are able to get your news from. Is it valid? Is it authenticated? Is it also realistic? And also checking and flagging out those sites that gives you fake news, because we are living in an era where everyone says something and people believe that it is a fact. Also, if you look at also the ability for you to also learn the basics of video conferencing, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, you find we transitioned very fast towards a new way of doing things, and people are now using technology to do, for example, meetings.
Yes.
So the ability for you to know how to navigate and use a video conferencing application is also very important. The ability for a young person to install applications, mobile phone applications in their phones, and also to use them effectively, and also learn how these things work is also a very good digital skill. The other most important bit is research.
Yes.
Research is very important because, for example, if you look at data, in a country like Israel, you have about 8,000 researchers per 1,000,000 inhabitants. If you look at South Africa, you have about 435 million 435 people in 1,000,000 researchers inhabitants. But if you look at Kenya, you have about 227. Israel has about 8,000. So that means
a huge difference.
that there is an opportunity for young people in research.
Yes.
And countries that don't do research, they tend to live by the research that other countries have done. And that's an area that we want to point out for young people, that they should learn the art of doing research, because that is an area that is underestimated, especially in the African continent.
Yes.
And if harnessed well, then it can lead to a lot of job creation in the future.
Right.
Yes.
I like that you've mentioned some things that people may take has very basic knowledge. Like, I mean, installing applications, typing,
Yes.
video conferencing. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are people who are listening in and they're thinking, but that is common sense.
Yeah.
Yet there are people who actually need to learn those skills. We should not take such skills for granted.
Yes.
I mean, I'm pretty sure with video conferencing especially, sometimes people don't know how to set up a video conference, whether it's Zoom or Google Meet or Jitsi, the different platforms that are out there. I know many people might actually take it for granted, but you mentioned something that is very, very crucial and important for us to know, that we need to learn the basics and the fundamentals of how to use digital platforms and also the technological aspect of it all. On the issue of video conferencing,
Yes.
how should one carry themselves out? Like, we've seen very hilarious clips online of people losing concentration during a video conference,
Yes.
or someone forgets to mute their microphone and they are on the phone, or they're having conversations with someone. Very interesting things that we've seen online. So, is there etiquette with regards to how you present yourself on a digital platform, especially where you are in direct contact with someone else on the other side of the screen? Is there etiquette? Are there some basic principles that you can share with us?
Yes.
Just simple principles that you can share with us about etiquette, especially with regards to that digital platform of interaction.
Yes. So if you look at internet, for example, internet has its own etiquette,
Yes.
which we call netiquette. So it applies in different ways, and different platforms come with a different principles. So, for example, to just answer your question on video conferencing, one of the key things, the principle is first to ensure that, for example, you are in a silent place. Ensuring that you don't have a background noise, and also that you are not eating, because those noises tend to be amplified in the microphone whenever you are in such places. Additionally, you're supposed to, when you join a video conferencing platform, you're supposed to mute yourself before you speak. And if you are to speak, you unmute yourself, then you speak. It is an etiquette for you that when you're speaking, you unmute yourself and you turn on your video. Because nowadays, people just speak, but they don't turn their videos. So you may not know whether this person was just in present the meeting, or was just doing their own things. So it's an etiquette for you that when you are speaking, let people see you and also hear from you. It's just that, like for example, in the normal physical space, where when somebody is speaking, they stand up.
Yes.
So also when you're in the virtual space, when you're speaking up, you let people see you, and also speaking up also when you are unmuting yourself. Additionally, the other bit is we should also ensure you have a good background. So there's been this trend of people having professional backgrounds, where people are going next to library.
Yeah, you have a nice bookshelf, nice books.
You have bookshelf, yes, and you have books there.
Yeah.
We wonder whether you read those books.
Not at all. It's just presentation.
But it's just presentation and props. But that shows that is one way of having a professional background. Additionally, it's also good to just have a plain background. If you don't have a library, if you don't want to put books there, you can just have a just plain background, which will just help you in amplifying your message whenever you're speaking, so that people are not distracted. Also, you should try also to speak politely and kindly when you're using this platform, because at the end of the day, it's about human interaction, and you want to ensure that you also use the basic law of principles of communication, and having etiquette, no shouting. If you want to raise a point, raise your hand virtually, and also try to use that platform to just amplify your point. If you don't necessarily have to speak, just use the comment section to raise your points out. Yes.
All right, interesting. From wherever you're watching, please feel free to shoot in any questions or comments. Subscribe to our YouTube. Know what is going on. Ensure that you're aware of the processes that at least you need in the digital space with regards to how you brand yourself. Another question. I like how you mentioned about the background.
Yes.
You notice, like, sometimes we get a lot of criticism as young people for liking to take things easy, taking it slow. You know, so you find someone has an interview,
Yes.
and they've just woken up, they've not made their bed, they're in a nice t-shirt, or they just get a nice shirt, but they're wearing boxers underneath, you know, and they've just put it into the camera, and they look like they know what they're doing. But that sort of environment, I'm pretty sure, will not even give you the right confidence, it won't even set the right tone or the right mood for having another virtual interaction with someone else. Now, this brings us to another aspect of what we're discussing. If you have applied for a job,
Yes.
and they ask you, now that, you know, a lot of people are avoiding physical contacts and physical meetings, you've applied for a job, and they tell you, do you have a virtual CV? Do you have the skills to carry out a virtual interview? What is a virtual CV to begin with? And how do you carry yourself out in a virtual interview? Yeah.
That's very important. And if you look at for example, the purpose of having a job application, and most young people don't know about it, but
Yes.
the main purpose of you applying for a job is to land you an interview.
Yes.
And if you are not applying for an application that will stand out and land you an interview, then you've already failed at the beginning, at the onset of the process. So having a virtual CV is having a digital CV, whereby it's like you have your traditional CV, but now it's now in digital format, and this means that there are some portals or some website platforms that can help you craft a very good digital CV for you. If you look at, for example, at LinkedIn,
Yes.
you can log into LinkedIn and go there, and they ask you some questions about your job experience, about where you studied, about what you're currently doing, about your passion, about your interest. And after that, they ask you whether you want to generate your CV. So when you do that, you find you've generated what we call a virtual CV or a digital CV. That's where whenever you are able to go for an interview and asked whether you have a digital CV, you can be able to share with them your LinkedIn profile. There's also platforms like also new platforms that have come up. We also have them that are trying to have a platform that young people can be able to access it. For example, when you're applying for jobs, like using, is it Zoom? Or Zoom? Yes. If you look at such platforms, and then there's also Fuzu.
Yes.
There's also platforms like Pikia Jobs and all that. So GG, yes, all those platforms that link young people to job opportunities. You find they have a way of asking you questions, and automatically they generate your CV there. So most of the part you don't have to upload your CV, but it's an option for you to upload. Then it can pick some of those areas, but there are some software that don't allow that. So you have to to input it manually, and then let it generate. But for people like creatives, they can be able to create their website, to share their portfolios about the work they are doing. If you're a photographer, if you are a graphic designer, if you're a website developer, if you are an IT specialist, if you're even a politician, you can also create your website if you have the ability to. And this can be also act as your virtual CV.
Yes, that's a very interesting that you mentioned. Because I know many people traditionally would think the CV is the chronological type of CV that we're used to, where you have your educational background, professional background, experience, hobbies, you know, all those things that we like writing. But it is actually a nice way of us going about it now, using, say, a virtual space where you have a website, and it has information about who you are. And you can share that with a potential employer, because I feel like that is actually very, very creative also. And it also is unique because it will help someone to stand out. when everyone else is trying to write everything else in chronological order, you probably have a portfolio that is more appealing, that someone can see photos of the work you've done, practical things. It gives it a human touch, but it is still on a digital platform. So I think that is very, very crucial that you mentioned.
Additionally, there's a new trend that is coming up where people don't have to input, in the future, people will not need to input their details manually. The future is having video formats as part of your CV. So, for example, LinkedIn is trying to come up with a segment where you can just upload a video that speaks about who you are, what you do, and what you're passionate about, just explaining and just pitching for yourself for about a minute or so, and just uploading it there. So meaning that the future is moving towards the oral, the written format to oral format. So learning how to speak and teaching for yourself will become a key in the near future. So for anyone who is trying to look at positioning themselves post-COVID and also during these COVID times, they should start practicing pitching for themselves. And this will ease also in having people to go for interviews. So someone will just go to the platform and look at your profile, look at your video, and just ask themselves, is this the person that I want to have on board? And they make their conclusions there. Because nowadays, it takes only, out of the CVs that are applied for a certain position, only 2% qualify for interview stage. While out of also those 2%, it's only about 1% or 0.5% that make it to the final stage. Yes, which means that a lot of people get lost in between the process because maybe they didn't do their CV well.
If you are waiting for an elevator, and coincidentally say the world's most powerful or the world's most richest man happens to be walking into the same elevator with you, say right now it's you find Elon Musk is right at the elevator also waiting to get in. And between the floor that you are at, or the ground floor, and wherever he's going and wherever you are going, say you have 30 seconds. So we were taught, can you express yourselves in 30 seconds to an influential person and tell them why they should at least partner with you or why they should want to hire you in 30 seconds? And I thought about it, and I think even up until this very moment, it's one of the most challenging things I've ever had to think about myself, how to package myself in 30 seconds to someone who's influential or someone who can give me a partnership or a job. So I think, as you mentioned, the aspect of learning how to pitch ourselves and setting up a video recording at least, it's very important, because even as you look at how the technological aspect is going, if I meet someone, I'm able to send them a 1-minute clip on WhatsApp about who I am, what I do. And this would actually mean I would get now, say, probably an invitation to do a physical interview, or be more interested in who I am and the work I do. So what you've mentioned is actually very, very important. I think these are certain skills that very many young people should learn, so that we know how to pitch ourselves. We know how to introduce ourselves. You know, there are some fundamentals that we take for granted. Like a basic introduction of who you are. You know, telling someone who you are, what you do. Some people will probably struggle, or there are some people who say, you know, I'm shy, I don't know how to express myself. But for how long will you make excuses about yourself? You know, you have to get to a point where you grow and you actually take a further step forward to packaging yourself. Now, we've talked about the virtual CVs. The other aspects that we'd like to talk about now, before we get some questions from the online audience, is virtual CVs are good, and they've given you the next step from virtual interview. Now, how do you execute a virtual interview? How do you carry yourself out? How do you prepare for a virtual interview? What are the basics, like the do's and don'ts of a virtual interview?
So landing after successfully applying for a job, and you land an interview, and it's a virtual interview, which is currently happening across board nowadays. Whenever you have an interview, it's virtual. So how do you get to prepare well and making sure that you also on Wavefront to get an easy advantage to win in the interview. So the first thing that you have to do is make sure that you research on that interview, on that organization. If, for example, you're applying for a certain company or an organization, go through their website, just find out more about them, and also try to learn more about them, so that whenever you're coming to an interview, you already know about the process, and if they ask you a question, you can also be able to answer it easily. Additionally, you also secondly need to find a place that is quiet in the room. You need to also have like login 30 minutes before the session to just make sure that your microphone is working, your video is working, you are in a place that is well lit.
Yes.
You are also looking presentable. So also looking presentable is very important. You just don't wake up and just go for an interview like that.
Yeah.
Because this is something that you're applying with and you're passionate about. You also need to play your part by giving your best. So dressing up is also very important for that bit, because these are people who also see you. So you also need to dress up well. You also need to make sure that whenever you're given a platform to introduce yourself, use it in a way that you speak with confidence. Don't speak as if you are having an issue with your confidence, because you want to show them that you're also confident about who you are and what you're doing, and you're presenting yourself to them. So part of the don'ts is just the opposite of what I've said you should do. Yeah. So the opposite of that is what you should not do.
Yes. And I like that you mentioned presentation. I believe to our online audience, you have actually set the standard. I'm feeling a lot of pressure. Going forward, I think I've gotten some tips on how to present myself better with regards to my dressing. Yes. But thank you so much for that aspect. One other thing. We all go through the cycle of application. We've been successful enough in the first round. Our CVs have been taken in. You have been considered for another level of interviews. That's the virtual one or the physical one. And then here's the part where most people sometimes really struggle with handling rejection. Mm-hmm. So you receive regret mail, you receive an email or a text or a call that, thank you so much for applying for this position. As much as we liked you and what you do, sadly we did not feel like you were qualified, or we have found someone else who is best suited to take that position. How should we respond to regret mails and not getting the jobs, not being successful, especially now that we have digital programs? I mean, because if someone sends me an email, they don't see my reaction on this other side. But if you're in a position where you are supposed to respond to that instance, what do you do? Do you respond to such an email? Do you just say, okay, they've sent regret mail, I've been rejected, life goes on, I don't need to respond? Yes. What do you do? What's the sort of feedback that you should give? What should your reaction be when you receive such instances, such news?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because it's a major concern right now, especially when people are looking for a job, and especially young people.
Yeah.
A lot of them, because of rejection, they find themselves in depression. Mm-hmm. However, one mistake that we make as young people is that when we have one CV, we recycle it. Mm-hmm. If you have just one CV and you made it very well, for this job we'll apply using the same CV. Tomorrow you'll use it all through. And you keep wondering, why are you getting rejections?
Yeah.
It's because for different jobs that you are applying for, you also need to customize your CV to them. For example, maybe they are interested in for example, let's say research. But in your CV, you also say that one of your hobbies is research, but you've not highlighted what research that you did or your experience in that field of research.
Yeah.
And you keep getting rejection and you're applying to different research companies and you wonder why. It's because you've not customized your CV. So the first thing that you need to do is to customize your CV according to the jobs that you're applying for. Mm-hmm. Additionally, also you find that these people also get a lot of CVs most of the time, and they use according to our latest research that I saw is that they only use 6 seconds to review your CV. 6 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and done, and they move to the next. So you also have to make sure that your CV is standing out. So what is it that when you do can be able to make your CV stand out? Is it that whenever you are applying, you don't have an objective in your CV, or don't you have, for example, something that will show you are also very standing out? Because you have to think when you're applying for a job that they assume that 1,000 people are also going to apply. So you ask yourself, what is it that is going to make me stand out from those 1,000? And that's how, for example, it can be how you present your CV, because the normal tradition is you start with your personal details, and also your names and all that. How about you just write your first name and put your details about your experience, so that when the person flips your CV, the first thing they start looking at is your experience, and then at the end they just come to personal details. So it can also be a presentation issue, and also now to answer how do you handle rejection. First, you need to know that not everything that you apply will go through. You should be ready to know that not everything that you apply to will come with a positive news. So you should be ready for some rejection, and that should not make you to lose hope. That should make you to also have the sense that probably I was not the best enough, so I need to do more work on researching, and also asking people who have qualified how they managed to do their presentation well and what sets them apart. Additionally, for some of those companies that you've applied to, or the organizations, and their emails have stated that this is an email that you cannot reply to. You don't need to reply to. But if it's an email that you can reply to, it's also good that you try to find out and ask about how you perform, just to know what are some of the things that you can improve next time. Yes, and then there are very good materials that they are online, and also in the print media. For example, I see the Daily Nation. There's a segment about talks about young people preparing for jobs, they show opportunities, even in the standard media. So if you look at such platforms, you can be able to learn and understand from experts who have been there in the field. Yes, interesting. Thank you so much, Kale. This is very, very informative. To everyone who's watching, please make sure that at least you practice what you are hearing here right now, because there's some very fundamental skills and information that we are getting from Edward Kalia. And from the online audience, we're just checking out a few questions. There's one of the viewers has asked, how can youth who have lost jobs in this period redeem themselves, especially in this new era where all platforms are being digitalized? Yeah, that is one question. We'll give you more questions as they come in, but for now, maybe we can tackle that one question. So to answer the viewer, first, I'm sorry that you managed to lose your job during this period, and you're not alone. Actually, a lot of people lost their job during this period, and not only people, but also companies closed because of what was happening. However, what has come out very clearly is the need to rebrand yourself and using digital tools. So, for example, if you're trying to rebrand yourself during this period, you try to ask yourself, what are some of those digital skills that you can be able to learn, that whenever there is another pandemic as COVID-19, you can be able to also transition easily from doing things in the analog format to doing things in the digital format. So, for example, if you use, for example, to also do research physically, and also going to different places, how can you use tools that will enable you to do those research virtually and still get the same result? So it's more of identifying a digital gap that is existing in yourself, doing a self-assessment and looking that I have, which digital skills do I have, which one do I not have, and what are some that I can build on, what is the possibility of me using these skills. And also you also want to position yourself to transition to another platform that you want to transition. So doing that research is important, and then identifying that skill and then working on that skill. Signing up for different courses. There are free courses online about digital skills. There's, for example, digital skills for Africa. There's the Google digital skills. There's the Ajira platform that where young people and young Kenyans can be able to get different skills digitally. And this also creates an opportunity for jobs, because we also have online jobs that use these skills that you learn. So you can also get your cash flow through digital means. Yes.
Right. Thank you for that information. That is very crucial, that we learn how to rebrand ourselves, how to pick up new skills. And thank you also for mentioning the different platforms that many young people can use to at least learn new skills and take online courses, and also referrals to online jobs. One other question: can one leverage on portfolio platforms and upload their work, then send the link to the potential employer? Like you say, uploaded your CV, or you've created your portfolio, and it's on a certain specific platform, and then you just send a link to an employer in case they need to see your work. Would that be advisable to send a link rather than the traditional CV, the chronological order? Yes, does that depend on what type of job?
So actually it depends on the type of job you're applying for, because you find there's some job that they will tell you you can attach a link to some of your work.
Yes.
So that is where you attach a link to those portfolio that you've done. In situations where they don't require you to apply, you can also add, but you should also have your CV sent to them. It's important for you to know that one of the key things that is coming out is the issue of digital cybersecurity. And most people are very afraid to click on links that they don't know about. So if you're sending a link just to an employer, you try to highlight that, for example, this is the link showing my work, and then attach the link. But you don't just paste a link without stating what that link is all about, because people are also very careful on when they click, and they learn that you should not click something you're not aware of, because of security. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. One last question before we wrap up. Many organizations, as a viewer here is mentioning, that there are many organizations that do not offer feedback, especially after you've applied for a job and not got the right response. How do you apply for other jobs in the same company? Say you applied in one position, then you didn't get it, and they didn't give you feedback with regards to how you performed. How do you still reapply, say, if there's another opportunity in the same organization? How do you go about that?
So the first thing that you need to understand is that even if you put yourself in the shoe of the person wanting to hire, you find that you get over 1,000 CVs, and that's why there is a clause that comes in when you're applying for a job opportunity that says only shortlisted candidates
will be contacted. Yes.
That is just to tell you that you are applying for that, but if you are not contacted, you should just know that you are not shortlisted. And that should also bring a reckoning call to you as an individual who is applying, to know that, yes, I have used this CV to apply this work. They didn't contact me because I was not shortlisted. But if I want to apply for another job, I can apply. But I should not use the same CV that I applied for that job to do the same, because some of these companies use the same digital software that stores databases for CVs. So in case you use the same CV, to just show that this is the same CV as the other one that you used last time,
if you end up not getting
shortlisted again and not contacted. So it's just trying to use different strategy. If one strategy doesn't work this time, try another one next time, and probably the third time you may be lucky and get the job.
All right. Thanks so much, Edward Kalia, for giving us such wisdom. We would like to wrap this up. Unfortunately, time is not on our side, and we still have some questions coming in. Oh, a very interesting question. Does the name on my email address matter? Like the type of name you use on your email address, does it matter?
Yes, it matters because that is also personal branding. So if you are sending an application and you're using someone else's email and you are claiming to be another person, then already the person who is seeking to recruit will just say this person is not serious, or maybe it's a fraudster. Because the names and the application, they don't match. Because even me today, I can use somebody's email, or I can get someone's CV and apply and claim to be that person. So it creates a certain kind of mistrust, and that's why you may not get the job because of that. So you should make sure that your name and your email address and your domain and also your name is matching in line to what details you are giving in. It shows consistency. And as we started, we say that in personal branding and digital branding, consistency is key.
Yeah. All right. One last question. This is actually a very concerned youth. They're asking, does it mean youth cannot show their lifestyle on social media in fear that they will not be able to secure employment? What are the limits? What are the parameters of expression with regards to our lifestyles, and also vis-a-vis not wanting to portray an image that will tarnish your reputation with regards to a potential employer?
Yes, that's a very good question. Yeah, it's advisable for you to show your lifestyle, but to what extent? That is the question. Because it depends with who you are and what shows and what you are perceiving out there. Because yes, if you want to show your lifestyle, you can go ahead and display it. But if you are going, for example, to apply for a certain position, be well aware enough that they are going to see also your social life, and it's important for them to see. So you should not have the fear of not posting your lifestyle.
Yes.
Because of fearing that you'll be looking for a job in the future, or because of a certain job application that you've applied to. You should feel free to apply for that and post your lifestyle.
Yes.
But what you should be aware enough is to what extent. Will you post your lifestyle and show that you are not serious enough with what you are doing? You are not responsible enough. For example, is the lifestyle that you are showing displaying that you are a person who is not responsible in whatever they are given, or you are not serious with what you are given? So you should also be aware that is this lifestyle that I'm portraying out there shows me as someone who does a lot of fun, who is very, very, very active, but then again also shows that I'm also responsible for my actions, because responsibility is also key.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Kalia, for that. Fortunately, we have come to the end of today's session. Unfortunately, I know we have a lot of things that we can continue discussing, especially with regards to this topic. There are so many things to learn, and there's a wealth of knowledge that Kalia has offered us today, and we are really, really grateful. Maybe you can just give us a parting shot. What would you say to young people out there with regards to their personal branding, how they package themselves for employability, especially in this period? Yeah, and how they utilize digital platforms. What would be your wisdom nuggets?
My thoughts would be, first and foremost, that you need to build your capacity. Concentrate on 4 C's: your capacity, your competence, your character, and also your capability. If you concentrate on those 4 things, you'll be able to be in a good position to be able to edge at least whatever you're trying to do in all your portfolio. And then 90% of life is always showing up. So whenever you're given an opportunity, please know that there are people who are not able to get that opportunity, and you're privileged enough to get that opportunity. So just show up. You never know what the end will be, and it's good for you to just try it out, because at the end of the day, you don't lose by trying. In fact, you just gain because you get to know and expand your perspective. So that is my parting shot. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I like that aspect. 90% is showing up. That 90% is showing up. And as you have mentioned, our capacity, our character, capability, and competence, those are C's that I have also noted down, and I'll make sure that I apply them, and also everything that I do. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. We really appreciate you taking the time. Ensure that you catch up with us on our YouTube channel. That's the Youth Agenda. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Youth Agenda 254. Please make sure you follow, like, subscribe, and ensure that you are aware and keeping tabs with all the content that we have. That is all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in.